What's going on, y'all? I'm Czar, and in this video we're going to take a look at the rubber band compressor version 2 from Mixland. So about 9 months ago I did a video on the rubber band compressor, and less than a year later there's now been a update and a completely new version of this compressor, and so we'll check it out here. And if you don't recall, the first version looked like this. So let's go over the new features that we have added here and see if Mixland improved on the rubber band compressor. By first looking at it, I do prefer this new black UI over the white one, but there's definitely some things that I'm not fond of on the UI on here, but we'll get into that later. New features that we have on the version 2 compressor is we now have saturation, we now have plus and minus dB that we can add to a high shelf as well as a low shelf. Below here we have those frequencies that we can set for that low and high shelf. We have tape saturation. We have a color giving you vintage, flat, or modern. We can switch to an FET compressor. We have a limiter and bias and detector control for the saturation. And looking at the top, we now have a additional feature on oversampling. We can go up to 8 times, whereas the first version went up to 4. EQ, we can do post or pre compression, and then both have auto makeup gain, and we have A/B comparison and undo and redo, and we've got your settings here. So let's get into how this sounds. One of my favorite things to do with the rubber band compressor was use it on drums. So let's close out of the first version. Let's move this one over. And let's check this out on drums. If you're not familiar with this compressor, the tension, you can think of this as your ratio. And snap, you can think of this as your how much compression that you're doing, like a one knob threshold, like a set threshold. More we drive this, the more compression we will get. All right, let's check out how this sounds. One thing I forgot to mention, we do have gain reduction metering. You can see here on the left and right showing you how much gain reduction you're doing, but it does not show you the number in dB of how much gain reduction you are doing. All right, so you can, let me play that again and bypass so you can hear what the rubber band compressor is doing here. I'll switch it back to FET. All right, so there's a listen to it bypass. You can hear exactly what rubber band compressor is doing there. It's giving that a nice compressed drum sound that I like. Give my final thoughts on the rubber band compressor here. So I mentioned there were some UI things that I did not like. So the EQ, you have the high and low shelf knobs here, but then you have to select the frequencies down here. I just find that weird that we're selecting the frequencies here, but then we have to bring the mouse all the way up here to turn the gain up or down on that. These buttons that can be pressed and depressed. So blue is out, but I don't know, my brain wants to feel like blue is on. But you can clearly see that it gets pressed in and it switches to white. So if it's white, it's on. If it's blue, it's off. I feel that is a little odd. And then these options up here in the top feel kind of, I don't want to say hidden, but I feel like you kind of got to search for them. They kind of just blend in with the UI. And I didn't even notice these up here at first when I first started messing with it. So there's just a few things just with the UI that I just find odd here. But I want to also mention that this is $49.99 for the version 2. And if you purchased version 1, you get 50% off of the upgrade to the new version. Now, personally, I feel like if you come out with a new version within a year of your first product, I feel like you should just give that upgrade for free to anyone who purchased the first version. That's just my opinion. You know, maybe if it had been over a year and we saw a new product, then I can understand it. But less than a year is pretty quick to come out with a new version and then expect people to pay again on top of that when they've bought it less than a year ago. But overall, still a cool compressor, something different from other compressors. And it's loaded with features that it's doing more than just compressing here, because we can EQ, we can saturate, we've got a limiter here. The crunch also adds some distortion as well. So you're getting much more than just a compressor here, which I feel is pretty cool. All right, I will have a link in the description if you want to check this out, learn more about it, or pick it up. And if you like this video, I appreciate a thumbs up. And if you want to continue to see content from me, then you know what to do. All right, any questions, comments, let me know, and I'll catch y'all next time.